Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Thursday, September 4th. Thanks to a boost in shares of Alphabet and across the wider tech sector yesterday, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ are coming off a winning session this morning. During regular trading, the averages did end mixed, with the Dow dragged down to close in the red. The S&P 500 added 31 points, or more than 0.5%. The NASDAQ jumped 218 points, or more than 1%. The Dow gave up 25 points, or 0.05%. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes. Good morning, Emily. Listen, I'm watching the S&Ps this morning, and we are seeing some positive action, which is nice to see. I see the S&Ps are up 0.13% in the pre-market, and I got to tell you, we're really focused on economic and earnings data right now. But there's more going on today than just that. I mean, granted, we got two employment reports that are due out this morning. You got the jobless claims, and then you get the ADP employment report. Now, the ADP employment report, it's going to come in. It's going to be given a lot more attention because the street's getting a little bit cautious over the non-farm payrolls report, the BLS numbers, because Trump fired the woman that ran it. So now there's questions of how accurate the data is going to be. So I think those ADP report numbers are going to be more widely watched in the near future. But jobless claims are also due out. And tomorrow, of course, the big one, non-farm payroll report, which is due up for the opening bell tomorrow. What else is going on? President Trump, he's hosting a dinner tonight. And it's going to be attended by a host of tech CEOs. It's really Melania Trump's hosting it. It's on AI. It's a little odd, but okay. Late yesterday, the Trump administration requested an expedited ruling from the Supreme Court on Trump tariffs. Senate Banking Committee is scheduled to begin their hearing today for that new Federal Reserve Governor nomination, Stephen Miran. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, he's going to be testifying before the Senate Finance Committee today at 10 a.m. That's going to be some fireworks. They think he's gone too far. On the earnings front, HPE, AEO, they're both trading higher after earnings. Salesforce CRM beat, but the cautious guidance really caused that stock to move a little lower. After the bell today, you got ACGO, you got CPRT, Lululemon, ticker IoT, Samsara, and DocuSign, DOCU. They're all coming out with earnings after the bell. Turn your attention over to see what's happening over in Europe this morning. We got the DAX up 192 points this morning. Nice move. Markets are kind of reacting to a calmer bond market, I would say, in Europe. Than what has been going on. And, I think they're optimistic ahead of the jobs data and the ongoing development on the trade front. I think, you put those three things together, and that's why you're seeing, some positive action in the DAX this morning. The FTSE's higher this morning. Travel related stocks are underperforming, I will say, but, we are showing gains in the FTSE of 0.24% this morning. The CAC has actually just turned positive. I mean, it was negative all day long, and it's now positive by 0.05%. There's these upcoming government debt auctions in France and the UK, which have been central to the recent bond sell-off over the last few days. So, since the bond market is kind of calming down a little bit, you're seeing some of these indexes move higher. And then we're turning our attention over to Asia. And, Asia had a wild night last night. I mean, the Nikkei jumped 1.53%, 641 points. Listen, sentiment was positive due to that pullback in bond yields. You got positive action, financials, AI, data center stocks, they all moved higher. But then you got Hong Kong and mainland China. They both fell. I mean, Hong Kong fell 1.12%. Shanghai, Shanghai Composite fell 1.25%. The pullback was really prompted by news reports that Chinese regulators are considering, various types of cooling measures for the overheated market. because remember, it jumped 10% 1 month. So they're cautious that it might be getting ahead of itself. So they're talking about some short selling restrictions in Chinese stocks. And then that is causing the market to really get cautious, because when regulators move in, hey, stock market's weakened. That's what we saw happen in Hong Kong and Shanghai last night. But the other Asian markets really did trade higher. Then we're looking at oil this morning, and oil's starting to bounce back, but it's still low. I mean, listen, oil's down. WTI is at $63.43 a barrel. I mean, it was up. It was trading below $63, and now it's gained, but it's still down 0.84%. Brent, on the other hand, is trading at $67.03 a barrel. Okay, there's a couple of moving factors here. Last night you had the API data came out. This is the American Petroleum Institute. They gave out their stockpile estimates. They showed a build in inventories of 622,000 barrels. This increase was unexpected. The market had anticipated a draw of about 3.4 million barrels. So this was a big reversal. Get the end of the summer driving season. That's not, that typically leads to bills in inventory. But last weekend was the last weekend of the driving season, so you didn't expect to see you didn't expect to see a build, but we did see one last night. And then you get OPEC. I mean, for the last few weeks, OPEC has been quiet. They haven't been talking about doing any hikes into production. But guess what? Yesterday it hit the tape that OPEC is considering production hikes. So that meeting is coming up on Sunday. That OPEC meeting is Sunday. So, there's nervousness there. And that's why you're seeing oil trade down almost 1% this morning after yesterday's losses. So, yeah, that's something crucial to be keeping aware of. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, you pointed to earnings reports and economic events as the main focus today, but also a whole host of other headlines to be watching, especially on the political front. So we're going to get into more details throughout the show. You did give us a preview of some of the earnings reports that have been released, some stocks trading higher this morning after those releases, and some interesting ones to look ahead to. So let's dive into earnings. Bill, what is going on there?
Start off with HPE, Henry Paul Edward. And listen, they beat by 2 cents, and they did do it on higher revenue. So, that's positive. You look at HPE this morning, it's up 4.38%. Nice. And then you got to look at Salesforce.com, ticker CRM, Charlie Richard Mary. They beat by 13 cents. They did it on higher revenue. Stock's off by 7.3% this morning. Not good. Brokers still love it. I'm still seeing like $400 price targets on Salesforce. So this weakness is temporary, I think. Figma, ticker FIG, they had their first earnings report and they missed. They missed by 8 cents, but they did it on higher revenue. This was Wall Street startling, but you look at the stock today, it's down 15.16% after their first earnings report. FIG, not positive, little scary there. Then we're talking after the bell today. You got a number like Lululemon, ticker LULU. Their EPS is $2.84. Their expected move is 12.07% when they release today after the bell. Then you have Copart, CPRT. Their EPS is 37 cents. Expected move is 8.46%. And of course, the big one that everyone will be watching, that's Broadcom, ticker AVGO, Apple, Victor, Grace, Oscar. EPS here is $1.66. Expected move is 6.77% when they release their earnings after the bell today.
Bill, the very first report you mentioned, HPE, was your pick of the day yesterday, up more than 4% this morning. Looks like there was a gain there, but we will check in with you by the end of the show to see how that pick went. Now, on to the day's economic events, a host of economic reports. As you mentioned, 2 key jobs reports out today, some Fed speak to be keeping track of. So let's start with the reports and get into the Fed speak. Bill, give us a rundown of everything that's happening when it comes to economic events.
Like I said, there's a lot of economic events going on today. I mean, at 8:15 a.m., you get the ADP employment report. At 8:30 a.m., you get the jobless claims. Also at 8:30, you get an international trade in goods and services. Then at 10 a.m., you have the ISM services index. That's going to be a key one. Then at noon, we have the EIA oil stockpiles report. They used to come out at 11 when there's a holiday, but today I see it's coming out at noon. Then you have Fed speak. You got New York Fed Bank President John Williams. He's speaking at 12:05 p.m. today. And then Chicago Fed Bank President Austin Goolsbee, he's going to be speaking at 7 p.m. today. In terms of the ADP report, I mean, you know, expectations are for a gain of 75,000 jobs. Jobless claims, they're expected to come in about 230K. Last week's reading was 229K. A 230K reading for the jobless claims would indicate a relatively stable labor market. I mean, the 4-week moving average of initial jobless claims in the U.S. is 228.5. So, yeah, that seems to be steady. So that could be good. But the only other thing I want to point out is that, yesterday Fed Governor Neil Kashkari spoke, and he indicated that inflation related to goods is rising due to tariffs, and policymakers need to monitor tariff-induced inflation for persistence. On the jobs front, he suggested that the current break-even point for the labor market is around 75,000 monthly job gains. He was cautious, but I mean, I do think we're going to have a rate cut next month. This is the last week we're going to have Fed speak until after the Fed meeting. I like this guy, Neil Kashkari. Remember, he was part of Hank Paulson's team in 2008. He's one of the better guys on the Fed board. So I like to, I pay a lot of attention to his comments. But that's what I have for you in terms of an economic report this morning, Emily.
Bill, that is indeed a variety of information to be keeping track of. The reports, the data, understanding what Wall Street is anticipating in terms of the data, along with following that Fed speak nuanced, following different Fed speakers, combining commentary that has come out with commentary that will come out today. That is a wide range of things to be following, and you're doing it all using your NewsWare. You're also following those earnings reports using your NewsWare, and as if that's not enough, there are still more data and information that you're watching, breaking down your news into things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You also look at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks, all using your NewsWare. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving markets today?
I'm just doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 13 lower, 17 higher. I like that reversal. And my FANG stocks are mixed. I'm seeing gains in Amazon. I'm seeing gains in Meta. I'm seeing gains in Tesla. I mean, that's good. Netflix is flat. Google is trading just, is giving back some of yesterday's big gains, but that's okay. That's okay. In terms of, news hitting the tape, I mean, let's talk about Apple. There's a leaked video out there about the pending iPhone 17 Pro Max. It's got a hulking camera bar stretching across the entire top of the screen. I don't know if this is going to be a good product launch for them, but we'll see. Remember, I think that happens September 9th. Amazon, they're facing a class action lawsuit against the company for imposing inflated fees on third-party sellers that have passed on price increases to customers. Google was fined 325 million euros by France over Gmail advertisements. Tesla, I mean, listen, I mentioned earlier, Trump is hosting this event for tech leaders at the White House. You got guys from Apple and Google and Microsoft, Meta and Micron. They're all attending. You know who's not attending? Musk. He was not invited. In terms of Dow Jones 30 stocks, Apple apparently is evaluating Google's Gemini for a new AI search for Siri. Disney, ticker DIS, they're going to be presented at the Bank of America Media, Communications, and Entertainment event. That's going to be at 1 p.m. today, 1:10 p.m. actually. Verizon's going to present today at the Citi's 2025 Global TMT Conference today. That's happening at 8:50 a.m. this morning. In terms of guidance news, CIEN, Sienna, they see Q4 revenue of 1.24 billion to 1.32 billion. Street estimate had it at 1.21. That's a big uptick. CIEN. PagerDuty, ticker PD, they see Q3 adjusted EPS coming in 24 cents to 25 cents. Street estimate is 26. It's slight downtick. HP Enterprises, ticker HPE, full year 2025 adjusted EPS. They see coming in $1.88 to $1.92. Street estimates $1.87. That's a definite uptick. In terms of buyback news, Upwork, UP, WK, Uncle, Paul, William, Kilo. Upwork approved an additional $100 million shares to its repurchasing program. In terms of catalyst calls, Philip Morris is out there. Citibank placed a 90-day downside catalyst watch on Philip Morris, ticker PM, Paul Michael, this morning, Emily. But that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, a couple days into September here, lots of data and news to be watching. What is your pick of the day today?
Yeah, there's a host of earnings coming up, but none of them really, I don't really love anyone. But you know what looks the best is PATH, UiPath. That's ticker PATH, Paul, Apple, Tom, Henry. Earnings are out after the bell. EPS is 8 cents. Expected move is 11.95%. If you look at yesterday's call volume, 35,289 to 7,968. Very positive. Open interest 220K versus 132K. Very positive. Brokers are raising price targets on it. I mean, it's not an expensive stock, but they are raising price targets nevertheless. And you know, but I want to get in at a good price. Obviously, you know, my good price is 1090, give or take, you know, a couple of pennies. I mean, I ultimately I want to wait to $10.85 if that happens. But that might not happen. So I'm going to say 1091 is my entry price for PATH, Paul, Apple, Tom, Henry, Emily.
UiPath, it is today on an earnings play. Yesterday's pick of the day, as we pointed out, was an earnings play as well. We will do a recap on that in just a moment, so stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, sending it back to you.
Okay, what do we see here? JetBlue says demand for air travel strong throughout the summer peak. JBLU, that's a nice one. NVAX, their COVID-19 vaccine was approved in Japan. Eli Lilly receives breakthrough therapy designation for one of its drugs, LLY. Goldman Sachs to buy $1 billion of T. Rowe stock in private fund deal. The Buckle, BKE, reports August same-store sales up 12.2%. BKE, boy, Kilo Edward. mRNA, FDA vaccine chief overruled staff scientists' recommendations for COVID shots. Gilead's going to be presenting at the Wells Fargo Healthcare Conference at 11 a.m. Merck's going to be presented at the Wells Fargo Healthcare Conference at 11:50 a.m. T-Mobile, Tom, Michael, Uncle Sam, they're going to be presented at the Barclays Consumer Staples Conference at 3:30 p.m. Alibaba, ByteDance, and other Chinese tech firms remain keen on NVIDIA's AI chips, despite regulators in Beijing strongly discouraging them from purchase. NASDAQ proposes tighter listing rules for thinly traded stocks. Federal jury determined on Wednesday that Google must pay $425 million for invading users' privacy by continuing to limit data collections for millions of users who had switched off a tracking feature in their Google account. White House said yesterday that it's very troubled by the Norwegian Sovereignty Wealth Fund divestment in U.S. construction maker Caterpillar, ticker CAT. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into trading on this Thursday, let's double click on that report from HPE in our recap on yesterday's pick of the day. You did tell us they did report earnings after the bell yesterday. HPE reported better than expected results. And this is their first earnings report since they completed that acquisition of Juniper Networks. They reported an adjusted earnings of 44 cents a share on revenue of $9.14 billion. Analysts were expecting 42 cents a share on $8.84 billion. They did credit high demand in its server business to that bump. You also gave us that note about their guidance during your NewsWare alerts rundown. A pretty strong report. The stock is up pretty strongly today. Bill, how did your call work out?
Worked out good. I mean, you look at HPE, Henry Paul Edward. I mean, the stock opened up at $22.96 yesterday, and it fell down to $22.57. That's right in my entry point area. And then it closed. It closed at $22.82. And then the earnings came out. There was some initial weakness, no question. But, you know, you had other stocks coming out and they were causing this market decline. So it was kind of fall in tandem. But then when people started reading the report, you started noticing it climbing back. And you look at the stock this morning, it's up 4 0.73% to 23.90. I mean, I was saying get in at 22.55. I mean, you could have got in there. 22 definitely traded under 22.60. It opened up 22.96, but this morning 23.90, 23.90. That's what I need to point out because that's a 4.73% move. Hewlett Packard HPE was a winner, Emily.
Solidly beating that chance for a 1% gain, a win there. And we will check in with you tomorrow about today's UiPath pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow to end your trading week with NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Vani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.